Right now, I want to bring in attorney Justin Green. He's representing the families of 31 people who were killed in this collision. Justin, thanks very much for being here. So what's your reaction to what we've been learning so far from these NTSB hearings?
Well, I think the number one is 67 people are dead, and they didn't have to die. The risks were known. And just to understand, what the FAA was allowing to happen was helicopters to cut through the area around DCA on the approach and departure ends of the runway, and let the pilots visually look out and try to stay away from the airplanes. That should not have happened in this very complex, very busy airspace.
As you know, the NTSB says there were, in their words, major discrepancies in the altitude readouts on board the U.S. Army Blackhawk helicopter, causing the crew to think they were flying lower than they actually were. Investigators said they found the same issue in other Blackhawks that the Army has been using. You're also a former Marine Corps pilot. So what does this finding suggest to you?
Well, it's really a function of the barometric altimeters. So there's errors in those altimeters, and they're not going to give you the precise altitude. The pilots should know that. The FAA should understand that. And the airplane also, the helicopter also has a second altimeter, a radio altimeter that shows their altitude above ground. So they have a way to cross-check. And on this route, they're supposed to stay below 200 feet. So they could have looked at their radio altimeter and understood, because they're flying over the river at sea level, that they were too high.
The chair of the NTSB says warning signs were ignored, her words, ignored, after the Army admitted they regularly flew helicopters below flights coming into land over at Reagan National Airport. In your view, who is at fault here? What changes do you think need to take place?
It's a shared responsibility. And every accident, there's usually more than one cause. Here, the Army could be faulted. The FAA certainly can be faulted for allowing this to happen. The FAA has the power to control that airspace. They own the airspace. And then we want to see what the airlines understood about the risks of flying into DCA.
You're representing the families, as we know, and as we've learned in these hearings that started yesterday, continue today, will continue for a while longer. Do you plan to file suit against the U.S. Army or the FAA?
Yeah, so most of the families have now filed notices of claims against the government. There's a period of time that you have to wait after filing a notice of claim to allow the government to respond to it. That is a 6-month period, and that is soon to be coming up. So lawsuits will be filed starting probably this month, in August actually, and then through the next 6 months.
How are the families dealing with this?
You just met two of the families. They're the most wonderful group of people. Their lives have been devastated, but they are pulling together and they're trying to make changes, because the one thing that they don't want to happen is another family to go through what they're going through.
They have to learn the lessons of the blunders that occurred to make sure it never, ever happens again.
That's right.
Justin Green, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.